Everybody loves a good underdog story. People often find themselves inspired by narratives where an unlikely participant rises up against all odds and triumphs in the face of adversity. Usually, though, the underdog isn't a literal dog, but I can think of few competitors who have tried and failed more times than the blue dog in The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. Among the many side quests in the game is a racetrack at the back of Romani Ranch, where the player can select one of 14 dogs to bet on in a race. 4 white, 3 beige, 3 gray, 2 brown, 1 gold, and 1 ill-fated blue dog. If the dog you pick performs well enough, you'll be rewarded with a piece of heart as the ultimate prize to take home. However, going in blind won't get you very far. In order to truly succeed, you must first obtain the Mask of Truth from the Swamp Spider House, which allows you to hear the inner thoughts of animals. Once acquired, you can use it to see how each dog will perform in the race. Each time you enter the racetrack area, the dogs will randomly be assigned either a good, neutral, or bad condition, indicating how well they can be expected to perform in the race. By using the Mask of Truth to choose a dog with a good condition, the heart piece is easily obtainable within a few attempts. However, this seemingly simple minigame possesses a hidden, secondary mechanic that is never communicated directly by the game. You see, Nintendo coded in a distinct speed stat for each dog color, creating a clearly defined tier list that tells us which dogs are better and which are not so great. If we take a look at the speed values embedded in the code, we can see that each dog color is assigned a pair of numbers. For the sake of brevity, we can mostly ignore the first number. The important number there is the second one in each pair, which represents the speed value of each dog for the last 3 quarters of the race. While the stats are relatively balanced overall, the 2 biggest outliers here are the Gold Dog with a speed value of 6.0 and Blue Dog, who sits at the bottom with a measly 4.0 speed value. When playing the game, these 2 extremities are easily observed. The Gold Dog, especially if given the good condition, is almost guaranteed to win the race, while the Blue Dog, with its minimal speed value compared to the other dogs, well, Blue Dog's viability, or lack thereof, has become the subject of outright infamy among Majora's Mask fans. Over the 25 years since the game's original release, nobody has ever seen Blue Dog come even close to winning the race, with essentially everyone in the community claiming it was outright impossible.
Like a dog, a blue dog.
This chat has a lot of faith in a dog that absolutely 100% cannot win this minigame, but it's okay.
Without a single win under its belt, the Legend of Blue Dog has become one of complete and utter failure. So, what's the deal here? Is it truly impossible, or have we just not tried hard enough? Well, as it turns out, there may just be a glimmer of hope for our beloved underdog. Over the last few years, Majora's Mask speedrunners became aware of an extremely rare glitch where a dog can mysteriously win the race around halfway through the track. The source of the glitch is due to a math error in the game's code, where the game performs a check to see if any of the dogs are in the finish line region. The way the game determines the finish line region is by looking at 3 separate regions defined by the differently colored shading shown here. If any dog is in all 3 regions at once, the game deems it on the finish line and having completed the race. You can see that the 3 regions all intersect in this quadrilateral that roughly encompasses where we'd expect the finish line to be. But taking a closer look reveals that the 3 regions all continue to intersect along this line here. Wouldn't you know it, the line runs all the way to the other side of the track, revealing the source of this glitch. If a dog ever happens to be exactly on this line, the game will see that it's in all 3 regions at once and declare the dog to have finished the race way earlier than any of the other dogs. And this glitch could, in theory, grant Blue Dog the victory we've all been waiting for. But wait, I hear you say, if the line runs all the way across the track, shouldn't this happen all the time? The dogs cross over this line every single race, so what gives? The truth of the matter is that the line is extremely thin, and the dogs themselves are treated as nothing more than coordinates in a 3D space, that is to say, a single point on the map upon which the game draws the rest of the dog's model. Every frame, the dog will move along the track by having its coordinates shifted a certain distance along the track relative to the dog's speed value. It's easier to visualize if I draw this out in a 2D space. Let's say a line falls exactly here on the racetrack, and a dog comes in moving 5.5 units every frame. It's important to note that the game only evaluates if the dog is in the finish line region once per frame, meaning the only time a dog's position is checked is over these 5.5 unit increments. As a result, in almost all normal instances of the dog race, the dogs hop over the fake finish line region, which is why this glitch rarely ever happens in practice. In fact, as of the recording of this video, there are only 4 known instances of this glitch ever occurring within regular gameplay, with the first known instance not occurring until 2018, a good 18 years after Majora's Mask originally released. I say known instances because probably there's been more cases over the years, but without sufficient evidence, we have to assume that any prior instances of this occurring happened to someone who didn't know enough about the game to recognize that something special had happened, nor feel the need to recount it for the internet, who would probably just write them off as having an uncle at Nintendo. For Majora's Mask nerds, it wasn't until the 3rd time, when it happened to speedrunning legend Marco in 2022, that anyone took note of it and began digging into why this glitch occurred.
Alors que j'aurais pu avoir 270. Quoi? D'accord. Ok. D'accord, ok, what? Quoi? Mais... Hein? Allô?
In Marco's clip, we can observe the 2 key pieces of evidence that the glitch happened. First is that the race end jingle plays way earlier than we expect.
270. Quoi?
Leaving the rest of the race in complete silence. The second is that the game says Marco's pick, the gold dog, got 2nd place despite reaching the actual finish line region before any of the other dogs. But this lines up with what we expect. Some other dog, one of the other 13 anyway, landed on the ethereal line I described before, triggering the end of race jingle early and claiming the coveted 1st place title from the rest of the dogs who all had to finish the race legitimately. With this in mind, let's take a look at the clip of the first known instance of the glitch occurring.
Go, Frankerzy! I don't know what message you had, but hopefully it's a good one. I need him to speed up right about now. Can he speed up? It doesn't look really that fast. Wait! What did the music just do? He won, but... What just happened? Oh my god! That makes no sense. That's the sound, like... It shouldn't... The music... That sound it made, it shouldn't make until...
Did you notice what was odd there? Despite the glitch clearly happening with the early race end jingle, Trev's chosen dog is still deemed to have won the race. This means that not only did Gold Dog finish first legitimately, but it was also the lucky dog that triggered the glitch, meaning it would have won no matter where it ended up finishing at the end of the race. This isn't really relevant to the topic at hand. I don't want to talk about Gold Dog any more than I need to, but this occurrence is just so unbelievably lucky that I had to bring it up in the video. Now, where does this leave us for Blue Dog's chances? Well, initially, our endeavors did not net great results. Earlier this year, I ran a charity fundraiser, attempting over 1,300 races picking Blue Dog, hoping to get the long-awaited victory, but alas, not only did I fail at getting a Blue Dog victory, I wasn't able to get the glitch to occur a single time. It didn't seem completely out of the question. After all, people regularly attempt Pokemon shiny hunts doing significantly more attempts than this, but Without knowing the true odds, it was hard to say if I was really chasing my white whale. After all, even if the glitch was proven possible, what if the game's parameters only allowed for certain dogs to trigger the glitch? What if there's a finite number of possible dog races that can happen, and none of them result in Blue Dog triggering the glitch? Well, to answer that question, let's take a moment to talk about the variables that go into the race's outcome. The obvious one is the arrangement of condition the dogs are randomly assigned upon loading the racetrack area, but the second variable is how the game determines randomness through its RNG function. Earlier, I talked about how dogs have specific speed values, and how these speed values are used to determine how far they move along the track each frame, but I glossed over an important detail. Every frame, each dog will have a random fluctuation between -0.5 and +0.5 added to its base speed value. This means, in addition to the condition the dog is assigned, each frame, the game will make 14 calls to the RNG function in order to determine the dog's actual speed for that frame. While explaining the finer details of how RNG functions work is well outside the scope of this video, and there's plenty of resources out there if you're interested in the topic, the good news is that RNG's role in this race is actually rather simple. Because the race runs automatically, the number of RNG calls the game will make during the race is consistent, and a race that starts on a certain RNG value, assuming the dogs have consistent conditions, will always end in the same result. More simply put, the only RNG value that matters for the dog race is the value on the frame that you start the race. This tangent, of course, is all to derive the answer to the question I asked earlier about how many possible dog races can the game produce. Now that we've established what the possible variables are, we can come up with the correct answer. Beginning with the dog's conditions, this number is actually smaller than you might think, because the game will always arrange it such that 4 dogs have the good condition, 5 have the neutral condition, and 5 have the bad condition. This means that the total possible number of distribution you can have for these conditions is 252,252. Okay, it's pretty big, but it's a start. Now for the number of possible RNG values, well, the RNG value in Majora's Mask is stored in memory as a float 32, which is a fancy way of saying the game allocates 32 bits in order to represent the different values it can contain. This means that there are 2 to the power of 32 possible RNG values, which is roughly 4.3 billion. Oh, and it gets worse because with the dog's conditions in play, we get to multiply one big number by a significantly bigger number and arrive at our answer. There are 1,483,414,090,350,592 possible dog races that the game can produce. Okay, so that's a lot, but there's good news and bad news with this number. The good news is that with so many different dog race possibilities, surely at least some of them result in Blue Dog triggering the glitch, right? The bad news? Realistically, we are never, ever going to get even close to this many attempts at the dog race. If I were to trigger a new dog race every second, it would take me 34 million years to reach that many attempts. Needless to say, you'd have to be a madman to even attempt this sort of thing. And that's when I heard from a user named Falkush, who had seen one of my prior videos on the Blue Dog subject, and got inspired to try and get a victory for himself. However, his approach differed from just loading up the game and running races in real time like I had done. Falkush had a different, but more intricate idea in mind. He had also taken inspiration from previous efforts to brute force the Mario Party minigame A Day at the Races, which, coincidentally, is also a race minigame where you choose between different competitors who have different base speed values and different random conditions. Anyway, he had wrote up a script to brute force the dog race with an emulator. Using the information discussed earlier about how the RNG values affect the dog race, this script would make a save state just before pressing A to initiate the race, then run the race at a much faster speed because you could do that with an emulator, and then after the race had concluded, the script would reload the save state, advance the game by 1 frame in order to change the RNG value, make a new save state, and run the race with that brand new RNG value and a brand new outcome. And how would he determine if Blue Dog had won? At first, I thought he was using a memory viewer to look at which dog had won, but it was in fact a much simpler approach. Falkush used an auto splitter, which is normally used for speedrunning console games to look for certain key frames and send commands to your splitting program. But here, he had cleverly leveraged it to look at the first section of the text displayed after the race. The dog race lady has unique dialogue for your dog getting first, second, third through fifth, and sixth or worse. So the auto splitter would look for one of these unique dialogue strings and record the race result so that he could observe it later. It would also record the number of frames the script waited before starting the race so that he could manually load up the initial save and reproduce the race at a normal speed later on. So with this implemented, would this be enough to finally achieve a Blue Dog win? Well, after running the script for 3 days almost non-stop, generating 8,410 races, this happened. Can you believe it? The world's first ever Blue Dog victory, all thanks to the tiniest oversight in the code allowing for an early win. And with Falkush's effort to automate attempts, given the total number of possible races I discussed earlier, the fact that it only took around 8,000 attempts shows that the glitch might be more common than previously thought. And remember, this glitch isn't exclusive to Blue Dog. Although he didn't have an automated way to track the frequency of the glitch happening to any of the other dogs, he estimates that it has around a 1 in 1,000 chance of happening, and he did see it occur a few additional times through continued attempts. As a bonus, he included a clip he saw of Blue Dog getting a legitimate 4th place, which, to both of our knowledge, was the best we've ever seen our boy do outside of the glitch. And in his video description, he proclaimed a question: can the Blue Dog get better than 4th place without the glitch? Well, as it turns out, the story doesn't end here. Falkush was determined to figure out just how good the Blue Dog could perform without the glitch in play, and he had an idea of how to make this happen. Remember at the start of the video, I talked about how each dog had a predetermined base speed value that outlines its overall viability in the race? Well, Falkush had the idea to use this information to min-max the dog's conditions based on their speed, and thus generate optimal conditions for the Blue Dog. In simpler words, Blue Dog had to have the good condition, and the fastest overall dogs needed to have bad or neutral conditions. The result maximizes Blue Dog's chances for a victory. He again used a script to automate loading the racetrack area, look at each of the dog's conditions in memory, and reload it until it was arranged in a way that it was determined to be optimal for Blue Dog. I was initially skeptical, but 1 week after he sent me the first video, he messaged me again with a new video. Blue Dog, 2nd place, glitchless. Yes indeed, he was able to find a way to get a legitimate 2nd place finish for Blue Dog using this min-max strategy. Given this result, Falkush was convinced that a legitimate 1st place finish could happen. At this point, he was running his automated script on 2 separate computers, generating about 4,000 races per day on each machine. He was able to produce another 2nd place finish, a 3rd 2nd place finish. Seeing these gave him hope that a 1st place was somehow possible. After all this time, with virtually every top-level Majora's Mask player claiming that Blue Dog could never win the race, was it a myth this whole time? Surely, with how many people have attempted the race over the years, we would have seen this at least once by now, right? Well, on the evening of August 25th, 2024, this happened. And there you have it. After 30,000 total attempts, we have undeniable proof that, given the right conditions and enough dedication, it is indeed possible for Blue Dog to win the race legitimately. Perhaps it's entirely unlikely that a real human being will produce this under a real-time context, but that's besides the point. Blue Dog has spent his whole life being the laughingstock of the dog race minigame, and Majora's Mask players as a whole. But after all this time, we can bask in the glory of the ultimate underdog finally receiving the victory he's been waiting 25 years to achieve.